everyone. If you're trying to keep up with what's going on, but, without drowning in news, well, let's try and cut through some of that. Today, we're going to dive deep into something you've probably seen flashing in headlines, the sudden jump in gold prices.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty striking. Gold's hit these record levels, and it's really worth understanding, what's actually behind it.
Yeah.
We've been digging into the recent reports to kind of break it down.
Right, and it really seems like a big piece of this puzzle involves Donald Trump's new tariff ideas, the whole Liberation Day stuff he's talking about. Looks like investors are maybe a bit spooked.
That definitely seems to be the main driver, yeah. The idea of, a 20% tariff on most imports coming into the U.S., that just injects a huge amount of uncertainty into the market. And, businesses, investors, they generally don't like uncertainty.
And we're not talking small potatoes here. Gold hitting, what was it, $3,148.88 per troy ounce?
Yeah.
And just quickly, a troy ounce, that's just the standard unit for precious metals. That's a 19% jump this year. Meanwhile, looks like Wall Street's getting kind of the opposite reaction.
Oh, for sure. We saw reports, I think AP mentioned the S&P 500.
Yeah.
That big basket of major U.S. companies is actually down 4.5% this year.
Wow.
Yeah, that drop really underlines what analysts call risk-off sentiment. Basically, investors are getting nervous and pulling back from things they see as riskier.
Like stocks, maybe?
Exactly. So instead of maybe chasing high growth in potentially volatile stocks, they're looking for something perceived as more, stable.
Okay, risk-off sentiment. Got it. And gold, it always seems to pop up in these conversations when things feel risky, right? What's the classic thinking there?
Well, historically, yeah, gold's seen as a safe haven.
Yeah.
When you have economic jitters or geopolitical tensions flare up, investors often flock to gold as a way to sort of preserve their capital, protect their money.
Makes sense.
Krishan Gopal over at the World Gold Council specifically pointed this out. This renewed uncertainty is really fueling the interest in gold right now.
So it's not just theoretical. People are actually putting money into gold, like big money.
Oh, absolutely. The Financial Times, using data from Standard Chartered, reported a huge inflow, something like $19.2 billion pouring into gold-backed ETFs just this year.
19 billion. Wow. That's the biggest rush since the pandemic, apparently.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, an ETF, an exchange-traded fund, it's basically a way to get exposure to gold prices without having to, buy and store actual gold bars yourself.
Exactly. Though, interestingly, you mentioned physical gold. Well, reports also show a big uptick in actual physical gold bar shipments heading to places like New York.
Huh. So people want the real thing, too. That really shows the level of concern, doesn't it?
It really does. It underscores this desire for something tangible when other assets feel shaky.
Okay, so boiling it down, the main worries are this potential global trade tiff, maybe even a trade war, and the idea that these tariffs could push prices up for consumers, like trigger inflation.
That's the core concern, precisely. The fear is those tariffs, which are basically just taxes on imported goods, get passed along, making everything from clothes to electronics more expensive for us. Inflation worries.
And it's not just folks like us or big investors, right? I read central banks are also involved.
Yes, that's another layer. AP reported strong demand from central banks globally. Some analysts think this isn't just about immediate safety, but maybe a longer-term strategic thing.
Like diversifying their reserves.
Exactly.
Oh.
Moving away a bit from relying solely on, say, the U.S. dollar, especially with all the geopolitical stuff happening, the wars in Gaza, Ukraine, it adds to the uncertainty.
Okay, so this flight to safety in gold is definitely happening. But is it all upside? Are there reasons not to just pile into gold right now?
Oh, definitely. There are counter-arguments. While gold can be good for diversifying a portfolio and it might hold value, critics seriously question how reliable it actually is as a hedge against inflation.
Really? I always hear it touted for that.
Yeah, but its track record is debated. And they also point out that gold prices themselves can be pretty volatile. The Commodity Futures Trade Commission even put out warnings about potential risks. It's not some guaranteed win.
Right. And that point about when everyone's anxious and buying, maybe the biggest winners are the ones selling into that demand.
That's a really crucial point, yeah. When demand surges like this, it pushes prices up, which can absolutely benefit those who are already holding gold more than the people just buying in at the peak, potentially.
Okay, got it. So just to wrap this up for everyone listening, gold prices have shot up. A lot of it seems tied to investor anxiety about potential new tariffs and what that means for the economy.
Hmm.
Gold's playing its classic safe haven role, attracting serious cash into ETFs, and even physical bars are moving.
Right, big inflows.
But importantly, it's not without risks. Its price can swing, and there's this whole debate about whether it truly protects against inflation in the long run.
Precisely. This whole situation is well, it's a perfect example of how economic policy whispers can cause major ripples in how investors behave and where money flows.
Yeah. So, as you're thinking about all this, it kind of makes you wonder, right? Given everything we've discussed, the arguments for gold, the arguments against, what other assets out there, maybe ones that seem stable on the surface, might actually deserve a closer look when things feel this uncertain? Definitely something to mull over.